We are CultureCrushTV, and you're watching our TALQ series. Hello everyone, we are CultureCrushTV, and you're watching our TALQ series.
And in this week's episode, we're just going to be discussing how to deal with awkward moments. Right, so we're both kind of awkward people, just a little bit. So we can both be somewhat awkward in real life, and this is something that I've kind of had to try to grow out of as I've gotten older, and I think I've gotten better with it. But there were definitely times when I was younger that I made awkward moments so much more awkward than they actually had to be. And there's actually a way that you can deal with awkward moments. Sometimes it's unavoidable, but you can make it better sometimes, and we're going to kind of tell you how.
So these are our top 5 tips on how to deal with awkward moments.
So tip number 1, I would say, is not to ignore it. Now, I know sometimes when something's really awkward, all we want to do is crawl under a rock, but I would say when you do that, most of the time what ends up happening is that creates an awkward silence, and no one's saying anything, and no one wants to call attention to what just happened, and everyone's afraid to break the ice, and no one wants to be the first one to speak, or whatever. Or another thing that will happen is, if you do that a lot, the person you're with may start to think that you're just awkward and don't even realize it, and that might make it uncomfortable for them to be around you, like someone who's just always making things awkward but doesn't seem to realize that it's awkward. I don't know, that's just my theory. I would say, like, call attention to it in a funny or subtle way, like laugh it off, or just address like, oh, that was awkward, or like just make a little joke about it and quickly go on to the next thing. Like, don't linger on it, but like acknowledge that it happened. Acknowledge the fact that you realized it was awkward. Like, I think that makes things a little bit better.
Tip number 2 is don't exaggerate the situation. And even though you should actually acknowledge it, don't overdo it. A lot of times we not only acknowledge it, but we also just over-exaggerate it and put the blame kind of on ourselves. Like, don't say things like, oh, I'm so awkward, or apologize constantly for being awkward. I know I used to do that, and honestly it just makes the situation even more awkward, and that person feels weird and sorry for you, and it makes you come across a little more insecure. So like Zoe said, just laugh it off. Don't act like it's a major thing and that no one else has awkward moments. Just keep in mind that having an awkward moment is definitely not the worst thing that can happen to you. So just keep in mind that having 1 or 2 awkward moments is not the worst thing in the world.
So tip number 3 is to learn from it. So if you're a person who would categorize yourself as awkward, like it's not just like you have 1 or 2 awkward moments, but you just feel like you are just an awkward person in general and just carry around a cloud of awkwardness wherever you go, I would say learn from it. So if something awkward happens, like analyze the situation a little bit and try to figure out what made it awkward, and just try to avoid things like that in the future. Maybe there are certain topics that just create awkwardness that maybe you could avoid those topics, or I don't know, just try to learn from it. Don't beat yourself up, but just kind of like think, oh, maybe I shouldn't bring that up or like do that again. Just try to learn from the situation in general, and you'll find that you actually will become more confident when you realize what it is that triggers those awkward situations, and you'll kind of understand how to navigate social environments a little bit more.
Tip number 4 is don't overthink it. Even though you should analyze the situation in order to prevent it from happening again, you don't want to think about it constantly in your spare time and have that awkward moment replaying again and again in your head, and the next time you see that person it's just more and more awkwardness. Yeah, that's never good. So don't overthink it in your spare time, and also don't overthink it when you're with the person or in a social situation. When you're actually in the moment, you really want to take the attention as much away from you as possible in your head. You want to try to think about the other person and how you could approach them, or how you can be friendly, instead of thinking, oh, I'm so awkward and I don't know how to say hi, or I don't know what to do. Yeah, just try not to think about yourself too much in your head, because that's really going to actually translate to that other person and make them feel really kind of awkward to be around you.
So tip number 5 is to embrace it. You want to kind of embrace awkwardness just a little bit, because the truth is, even the most confident of people, the most outgoing, popular people have awkward awkward moments. And what I've noticed from learning from these people and paying attention to them and how they deal with it is that they always just kind of like acknowledge it, make a joke out of it, and keep going and keep living their life. And no one like goes around thinking like, oh, they're so awkward. In fact, it's just the opposite. But some of the most outgoing people have awkward moments all the time if you really pay attention. It's just how they handle it that makes a difference. So embrace the fact that you're gonna have awkward moments and just invite that as a challenge to learn how to deal with it, and that's gonna just make you better at socializing. So everyone has awkward moments. Just look at them as opportunities to get better and to learn how to overcome those things so you can become more confident in different social situations.
And we also have a few quick bonus tips. 3 of the things that have helped me overcome my awkwardness is to, 1, maintain eye contact. A lot of the times when you have like shifty eyes, it just kind of makes things weird. And also the opposite, if you look at someone for too long, that could make things a little bit awkward. So yeah, try to steer clear of both of those things.
Yeah, and one thing, like I actually did a project on this in school for like a communications class, and one thing I learned is actually, like I used to think that to look someone in your eyes, you're supposed to look them like directly in the eyes and don't break eye contact. And it always made me so nervous, like when I would like have to look them in the eyes. But actually, you're not supposed to look someone like directly in the eyes. It's kind of like staring them down and challenging them, and that just makes everything really awkward. Kind of like go around their face, like, but don't like look in other directions. Just kind of like make sure you're looking at their face. It doesn't actually have to be their eyes per se.
Yes, and you also want to smile as much as possible. Obviously, you want to avoid like nervous laughter, but smiling is always good. It shows that you're enjoying yourself and you're enjoying that person's company. And that goes along with just body language in general. I used to always fold my arms when I was with people, and I realized that that made me look super closed up, and you just never want to do that.
Subtly, it kind of tells people like, stay away from me, don't come too close. I'm not comfortable, or I'm a little insecure. And I don't remember where I heard this, but it's supposed to be like, these are where most of your vital organs are. So like it's very natural to want to protect yourself by like closing off this area, and people still kind of like subconsciously read that as this person is trying to protect themselves and they're guarded and like not a very open person. So when this area is not closed off and your arms aren't folded, people think of you as a more inviting person. Oh, that's someone I can go talk to.
And there's just one last thing that I want to bring up, and that is to stay off of your phone. That's like the hardest thing for me to do when I'm in a like situation with a lot of people. And the first thing that I go to is usually my phone, because it's like, you know, makes you feel safe. It makes you feel like people think you're occupied and that you're not awkward, or that you're not like, it makes people think you have friends, that you're just kind of be occupied and cool and all that, but it really doesn't, honestly. It makes you like look kind of standoffish, and yeah, stay off your phone, guys. Alright guys, so that was our 5 tips on how to deal with awkward moments. I really hope they help you guys. Don't forget to favorite and like this video, and leave any comments below for any requests or things